Hey guys, it's Jimmy Moore. I'm here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. Do you like the show? It's called Jimmy Rants. I'm not ranting at you, I promise. But jimmyrants.com is the website. If you missed any of the past episodes, right there is the logo for Jimmy Rants. And what we do here is we talk about kind of all sorts of stuff. Generally, I talk about keto, I talk about fasting, I talk about like general health headlines that are out there, kind of news in the realm of diet and health. But lately, with all the coronavirus stuff and people's fears about it, I've tried to do a lot of mindset things, and we've got another one in store for you here today along that lines. We do start the show over on Instagram Live. We simulcast on 2 Facebook pages as well, so thank you guys for being here. But check me out over on Instagram. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, please follow the show. We do go live at 11 a.m. Eastern during the week, 2 p.m. Eastern on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. If I do a bonus episode, then it will be at 5 p.m. And yes, today I have a bonus episode, and I've been promising to do this one for a while. It's going to be an Ask Me Anything at 5 p.m. today, so don't miss that one. If you have questions about keto, fasting, cholesterol, really anything you want to ask me about, we will do that at 5 p.m. Eastern Time today on Jimmy Rants. You can also see all the past episodes up on YouTube, so type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show, and that's how you can access it, you guys. Sometimes we also air some of the audio on my flagship show, the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show, and so, on Tuesday this week, we aired 3 episodes from recent Jimmy Rants, where I was talking about the coronavirus and some of the different kind of aspects of all this. So that's how you access the show. Thank you guys for being here. I do have a great topic in store for you, because one of the major concerns I've had ever since this coronavirus thing came out was not the coronavirus itself. Yes, it's very serious. Yes, we should all be in our homes, socially distancing, all the things, washing your hands, all the things. But that's not the thing that I'm most concerned about. What I'm most concerned about is all the mental health ramifications of the fear and worry about this thing. Okay? And so what I have noticed is there's a lot of fear, panic, overwhelmed, unknown, of not knowing what to do. I was saying before we came on the air here, I was saying to my Facebook page, I'm going to run out of money in about 3 weeks, because all the people that usually sponsor my shows, they're pulling back their money. And so I'm not getting any money. And then my publisher, which I was supposed to get my next royalty check in a couple weeks, I reached out to them and they're like, we don't know when we're going to be able to get you the money. So it's like we're all kind of in this state of flux of a little bit of angst. And so how do you handle that mentally? How do you use this time to learn to be able to handle situations better? Because quite frankly, this is an unprecedented situation in our life, and we've never had to deal with anything like this before. And it makes you wonder, I wonder how people deal with situations just in general, never mind when it's something this big. So the topic I want to talk about here is, how about we let this experience with something that's unprecedented? I don't think we'll probably deal with anything this big again in our lifetime. I can't imagine. But why don't we use this as an opportunity? Why don't we not let this pass us by, this COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, because it is indeed a crisis. It's changed the fabric of everything we do in our lives right now. Why don't we use it to build something called mental resilience? Now, maybe you haven't heard that word before, resilience or resiliency. I can tell you where it came on my radar screen pretty strong recently was when I was away on sabbatical, and I have a life coach, and she's wonderful. And I started telling her about a lot of the stuff I went through as a child that kind of brought out some of the childhood trauma stuff that I had been talking about before all this coronavirus stuff hit. And she made a statement to me one day. She said, "You're one of the most resilient people I've ever met in my life." And I'm going, okay, I know what the word resilient means. Tell me the context of what you mean. She's like, with what you've been through, like most people would have crumbled, like really just crumbled under the pressure, uh, let it change them, let it alter who and what they were. And she's like, you didn't. You actually went the other direction with it. You used it to motivate yourself, to be stronger, to be better, to come back from it. And so she's like, I imagine anything would come up in your life that you could handle it pretty well. And so I was like thinking on that, really reflecting. I'm like, yeah, I guess all of that did make me pretty resilient, overcoming a lot of that. So this coronavirus thing has not freaked me out at all. I hope that's come across really loud and clear in the midst of this. I hope I've come across as very reasonable and calm because I'm not overly concerned. Not that I don't think it's important and that it's not something big to be concerned about, but I'm not going to let it overtake my emotions and my mental capacity and my psychology right now, because that's what a lot of people are doing. So how do you build that resiliency? That's what I want to talk about with this article I found from the American Psychological Association. APA.org is their website. And it's funny because all this went down over the past 2.5 weeks. This article was written February 1st this year. So it was almost as if maybe they knew. I mean, this is a topic just in general that's important, but February 1st, and who knew like a month and a half later, this would be so prescient information. So I'm really happy to be sharing this with you here today. The title, Building Your Resilience. We all face trauma, adversity, and other stressors in our life. So here's a roadmap for adapting to life-changing situations. You think we're in the middle of one of those? I think we are. And emerging even stronger than before. So right now you're in the midst of maybe being concerned about this, worried about it, and you can't even imagine being stronger than before we started. But that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do here. Just as when you go to the gym, you tear down your muscle when you're lifting those heavy weights, you're tearing that muscle down. And what does that muscle do in response to being torn down? That's right. It comes back better and stronger than it was before you did the exercise. And that's what we want to do right now. Maybe the stress of all this is starting to tear down some of the mental fabric of how you're thinking right now. And what I want you to know, as someone who's been through a lot of stuff in my life, every time you get torn down mentally, you come back stronger. That's the resilience that they're going to be talking about in this article. So imagine you're going to take a raft trip down a river along with slow waters and shallows. Your map shows you will encounter unavoidable rapids and turns. How would you make sure you can safely cross the rough waters and handle any unexpected problems that come from the challenge? Perhaps you would get the support of experienced rafters to help you as you plan your route, or you'll rely on the companionship of other friends along the way. Maybe you would pack an extra life jacket or use a stronger raft. With the right tools and supports in place, one thing is for sure: you will not only make it through a challenge of your river adventure, you'll emerge a more confident and courageous rafter. And this is something that, if nothing else, this whole crisis with the coronavirus has put on our radar screen, that we have to be ready at a moment's notice when life shifts. Think about all the people living paycheck to paycheck. Did they expect this to happen? Did they know they were going to be possibly without work or reduced hours? Did they know they would have to be working from home? Did any of us know this was going to happen? No. Because everybody was living their lives totally oblivious that anything bad like this would happen. But here we are. And in the midst of it, now you're kind of being forced into trying to get through life with some semblance of normality right now. And the honest truth is, who feels like it's normal? Nobody. But we will emerge on the other side of this more resilient. So what is resilience? Life may not come with a map, but everyone will experience twists and turns in their life, everyday challenges to traumatic events with more lasting impact, like this one we're going through now. Death of a loved one, life-altering accident, or some kind of serious illness. Each change will affect people differently, bringing a unique flood of thoughts, strong emotions, and uncertainty. Yet people generally adapt well over time to life-changing situations and stressful situations because of resilience. Maybe this is the first time in your entire life you've really been faced with something huge in your life. I've been through childhood trauma. I've been through broken relationships. I've been through being fired from jobs. You can go through stuff, death of a loved one suddenly. You can go through stuff in your life that each time you go through it, you're just in such pain and it's such an anguish. And yet at the other side of that, you kind of go, okay, I know how to handle situations a little more. So maybe you're in the midst of stressing about this coronavirus thing, and I want you to skip ahead in your mind. I know that's hard to do because we like to live in the here and now, but skip ahead in your mind. 6 months, a year down the road, you're going to be, oh my goodness, I was so worried. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was going to do. And yet here I am, still kicking, still breathing, maybe thriving on the other end of this. I don't want to overblow this, but think about it for a moment. When you go through tough times, isn't that the time when you have the most radical life-altering changes take place? It usually is for me. And so if you come out the other end much better, why don't you go ahead and go there in your brain that when this is all over, everything's going to be okay and I'm going to be better off as a result. Now, you still have to deal with the temporariness of financial issues, interpersonal relationship issues, all the things that we're dealing with right this moment. But I want you to start thinking ahead. And that's one thing that's really helped me in my life, you guys, is I always try to, whenever situations kind of show themselves, I always think 3 steps ahead. What's happening down the road? Now, obviously, it's just a predictive factor. It's not anything verifiable. It's definitely going to happen as 3 steps ahead in my mind. But it lets you go there in your head so that you're then prepared. And I was not taken by surprise by this coronavirus thing because I already prepared, not specifically for this issue, but that if any situation came up, you stay chill, you stay calm. And especially something that you can't control. A lot of you guys are under quarantine. We're all being recommended to stay home. There's no way you could have quote prepared for that unless you just said, hey, whatever comes my way, I'm gonna be okay. And if you kind of had that mantra in your head, and I have, it helps you deal better. So this resilience thing is a huge part of overcoming the mental stresses that come as a result of crisis like we're in now. Psychologists define resilience, listen to this, you guys, as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, like family relationship problems, serious health problems, workplace and financial stressors. As much as resilience involves bouncing back from these experiences, it also will involve profound personal growth. And I want you to focus in on this right now. Right now, a lot of you have uncertainty, you have fears, you have things that are clouding a bit of your judgment because of the immediacy of what's happening right now. And what I want you to see is, what can I learn in the midst of this? And that's going to seem so crazy. What do you mean, what do I learn? I learned we need to avoid coronavirus so we don't have to go through this again. No, that's not quite what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you individually. You have to think this through a little bit. How are you individually going to change as a result of this? How are you going to grow and progress from this? I don't want you to see this as a blip on the map that was something negative in your life that happened in the first quarter of 2020 when you look back on your life. I want you to look back and go, that was the moment when I realized, fill in the blank. And I think we're given this golden opportunity right now to try to figure out things in our life that maybe we would have never figured out. And I'll give you a perfect example. When I went away on sabbatical September 1st, I had no idea 2 weeks later I would be facing my childhood trauma. Like face to face, looking at this stuff, the ugliest part of ugly from my past. And I got to tell you, had I not done that, I would not be where I am mentally today. And it was in that slowing down and then completely stopping that all of that came out. So I'm not saying that I hope you have to deal with childhood trauma, because that was very painful in those 3 months I was trying to process all that. But you see where I'm going here. There's some level of growth that will happen for you if you're looking for that opportunity. So what is it? What is it going to be in your life that you need to hear and heed right now? That's what I want you to be looking for. What are those opportunities? While these adverse events, much like those rough river waters, are certainly painful and difficult, they don't have to determine the outcome of your life. There are many aspects of your life you can control, modify, and grow with, and that's the role that resilience plays. Becoming more resilient not only helps you get through these difficult circumstances, it also empowers you to grow and even improve your life along the way. That's the positivity encouragement I want to hand out to you guys today. If you're looking at this COVID-19 coronavirus situation merely as a bad thing that has happened to you in your life, then you're missing the golden opportunity. And the opportunity is, what can I learn from this experience that will make me a better person when we're on the other side of this? Does that make sense? I mean, I think it's easy to fall into a negative thinking pattern about all this and thinking, oh, there's nothing good that's going to come out of this. If that's your attitude, you're right. Nothing good will come out of it. But if you instead see it as an opportunity and have eyes wide open at what those opportunities could be, you might just surprise yourself at what you learn. And I know this is so hard for some people to be hearing right now, because you're like, no, I want to be mad about this. I don't like my life was disrupted. How dare you tell me to try to think positively, and how dare you try to say I grow from this? I don't want to grow. I want to wallow in my pity. Okay, if that's what you choose to do, you can certainly go that route, and you can regret March of 2020 all you want. But at the end of the day, who's being harmed by that? You. That's it. Nobody else. Just you. Instead, use this to grow and become more resilient. So, let me explain, according to this article, what resilience is not. Being resilient does not mean a person won't experience difficulty or distress. Obviously, right now, all of us are going through difficult times with the various pressures I talked about earlier, and they're having a tough time trying to figure out just kind of the day-to-day living. But again, looking at things from the big picture changes your perspective. When you get out of the here and now and you look at the big picture and you go 3 steps ahead in your mind, it helps so much. And that's where I want to get you to. People who have suffered major adversity or trauma in their lives commonly experience emotional pain and stress. Now, as somebody who's gone through pretty traumatic experiences in my life from childhood, the emotional and physical abuse I went through as a kid, sometimes traumatic events like what's going on right now can trigger those memories. So maybe some of this emotion that you're dealing with at this very moment has nothing at all to do with COVID-19. And it has everything to do with you've triggered yourself into remembering past trauma. Maybe you had the death of a loved one you never fully grieved. Okay? Don't think that how you're feeling is just about the circumstances that are going on here. And let's not pretend like before this all hit, people weren't dealing with some mental health issues anyway. Excessive worrying about other things that seem a little bit frivolous. This was something that was already there. All this situation is doing is bubbling it to the surface even more. Okay? The road to resilience is likely to involve considerable emotional distress. So don't think if you're not happy and positive and encouraging right now that there's something wrong with you. No, you're human right now if you're feeling emotion. Let that emotion happen. I got to tell you, after I went through kind of the emotions in September with my childhood trauma, it took me 3 months to really come out the other side of processing all of that. I know it's a different circumstance than what we're going through now, but it's applicable in as much as I had the painfulness, I went through the emotional distress of it all, and then I processed, and then I came out the other side, and I was better. And maybe right now, you're in the midst of kind of having the emotions over all this crisis that we're in. Have the emotions. Don't be afraid to share that emotion. You would not be human if you were not being emotional at least a little bit about what's happening. But don't dwell in the emotion. Start the healing process. Begin to have understanding of why things are happening. Look for the positive in due course, and then you'll become very resilient as a result of that. While certain factors might make some individuals more resilient than others, resilience isn't necessarily a personality trait that only some people possess. Some people will say, well, if you have a positive view on life, you're the one that's going to be resilient. I just don't feel like life's doing me any good right now, so I'm never going to bounce back. Okay, I suppose if that's your attitude. But don't assume that you just can't be resilient. If you're watching me right now, you can be resilient and come back from this and not let it overwhelm you. On the contrary, resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that literally anyone can learn and develop. And we're going to get into those here in a second. It's going to be invaluable. I'm glad you're here today on Timmy Rants, because this is so good in the midst of this coronavirus fears that everybody's going through. This is some of the best stuff I've read about this. So the ability to learn resilience is one reason research has shown that resilience is ordinary, not extraordinary. People think, wow, if you bounce back and you're able to handle situations better, that's extraordinary. Kind of when my life coach told me that I was handling life pretty good, I was very resilient, and I was like, is that abnormal? She said, no, but I wanted you to know that you were resilient. So that was cool. So one example is the response that many Americans had to 9/11, the terrorist attacks, and then individual efforts to rebuild their lives after the tragedy. I'm sure after Hurricane Katrina, there was like a similar kind of resilience that needed to take place for the people that were affected by that. Like building a muscle, increasing your resilience will take time, and here's the key word, intentionality. Resilience isn't just going to happen to you. You have to be purposeful in wanting it to happen, which again is why I'm telling you, go 3 steps ahead in your head. 1 year from now, all the things you're worried about right this moment, this has been so helpful for me. Whenever I feel overwhelmed by any kind of situation that's happening in my life, I always say, okay, what's it going to be like 1 year from now? So you go there in your mind and you go, all right, yeah, it's not going to be a big deal. Now, I don't know what 1 year from now is going to be with this coronavirus situation, but it's going to be a whole heck of a lot better than it is right this moment, right? And so that's where you have to go in your head. So what they tell you to do, again, I'm reading from the American Psychology Association, APA.org website. They had this whole article that's just fantastic. They said there's 4 core components to resilience. You ready? Connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning. All of these can empower you to withstand and learn from difficult and traumatic experiences, to increase your capacity for resilience, to weather and grow from the difficulties. You got to use these strategies. So here we go, guys. This is literally the meat of this article, and I cannot wait for you to hear all this. So let's start with connections. Prioritize your relationships. Connecting with empathetic and understanding people can remind you that you're not alone in the midst of these difficulties. Focus on finding trustworthy and compassionate individuals who will validate your feelings, which will support the skill of resilience. When you get that support from someone you care about and you trust and who you know has your best interest in mind, it's so critical with this resilience piece. The pain of a traumatic event can lead some people to isolate. So if you're one of those 1 in 4 people that's being told to stay home and doing the social distancing and you're by yourself in your home, you better darn well be prioritizing your relationships and reaching out to people. Or if you know people in that situation in your life, reach out to them yourself and keep that line of communication open. It's important to accept help when it's given. So don't be stubborn. I don't need to talk to anybody. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And support those who care about you. Whether you go on a weekly date night with your spouse or plan a lunch out with a friend, try to prioritize genuinely connecting with people who care about you. So that's one thing I have learned abundantly in the midst of this. I have heard from people consistently since the sabbatical. Pretty much I had certain friends, and you know who you are, who have regularly checked in on me. And even now, people know that I'm by myself here in South Carolina, and so they're checking in on me pretty often as well. And of course, I'm an extrovert, so I'm going to go check in myself with other people. And it's beautiful when you have those relationships where you connect. Join a group. Along with one-on-one relationships, some people find when you're active in a group, a faith-based community, or other local organizations to provide social support, they can help you reclaim hope. Research groups in your area that could offer you support and a sense of purpose or joy when you need it. You know what? You don't even have to go in your own community. I think the online world gives us such a golden opportunity to make connections. All of you guys that are here right now are a part of the Jimmy Rants community. And you come to this show because you see this big galoof of a guy who talks to you on the camera and you feel connection. You feel like you know me. I get a lot of you guys write to me, oh man, you talk directly at the camera. It looks like you're talking right to me. And that's the point. I want this to be a welcoming place. And so a lot of you are getting connection this way. And thank you for that, by the way. I've needed you as much as you've needed me lately. So make those connections. The next one is fostering wellness. This is a big one. Take care of your body. Remember, these are all keys to resilience. Take care of your body. Self-care may be a popular buzzword, but it is a legitimate practice for mental health and building resilience. That's because stress is just as much physical as it is emotional. I did 2 Jimmy Rants about that about a week and a half ago, all about the mental and psychological and physical effects of stress over like a situation with the coronavirus thing. Stress is just as much physical as emotional. Promoting positive lifestyle factors like proper nutrition, which a lot of us are doing keto and carnivore, but really try to focus on real food. I feel bad for those people who are just loading up on junk food right now. They don't realize they're not helping themselves at all. Ample sleep. I got to tell you, I was wide awake at 2:30 this morning. I go to bed super early, so I think I was in bed 7:30 last night, but I was up at 2:30 this morning. I did a little bit of work from 2:30 to 5:30, went back to sleep for another hour, and then got up and started my day. So sleep, when you're in the midst of a crisis situation, can be a little bit challenging, even if you're handling it well. Now, I'm tracking my sleep with my Oura Ring. I still got 2.5 hours of deep sleep, and I want to say it was an hour and a half of REM. So I'm getting good quality sleep. It was just short sleep. Hydration. Are you drinking enough? When I do my fasting challenges, I always have my water on hand and I always go, dilly dilly. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. You might not even realize you're getting dehydrated because you're so caught up in everything in your head that you're, oh yeah, I should be drinking water. So if you don't have a little glass of water near you at all times, start doing that. Make that a habit. Regular exercise. This is one I personally struggled with. I do have some free weights back there. I also have a big tractor tire. Maybe I should go back and do a Jimmy Rants coming up in the next few days, flipping my tire in my yard. It's been a little while since I flipped that tire. I used to do it a lot last year on Jimmy Rants. So are you getting in some kind of regular exercise? I know it's difficult right now. Some people are struggling with that. All of these things will strengthen your body and will help you adapt to the stress and then reduce the toll of emotions like anxiety or depression. It's not chocolate cake that's going to do that for you, by the way. There's a lot of people that are using this time right now, and no judgment on my part, but you're using this stressful situation as your excuse for eating lots of carbs. You know who you are. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you you're doing your body a whole lot worse than you even realize. And you know that on a conscious level. But I get it. When people get stressed, they turn to a quick source of energy in their body, and that's usually straight up carbs. You're eating the chips, the cookies, the everything. Again, not judging you. I'm just encouraging you, if you can, get back to real whole foods as soon as possible. Next up, under fostering wellness, practice mindfulness. Are you meditating? Are you praying? If you're a Christian, are you doing things where you're just kind of being amongst your own thoughts? This is important. Mindful journaling, yoga, namaste. Namaste in bed. Other spiritual practices like prayer, meditation can help you build connections, restore hope, which can prime them to deal with situations that require resilience. When you journal, meditate, or pray, ruminate on positive aspects of your life and recall the things you're grateful for, even during personal trials. I love seeing out there a lot of my fellow keto Instagrammers. I've seen it quite a bit, and I highly concur with this. Write down a gratitude journal. Like right now, more than ever before, share what you're grateful for. I know some people go, I'm not grateful for anything right now. It's bad. Okay, are you breathing? You should be grateful for that. Do you have food? You should be grateful for that. Do you have a roof over your head? You should be grateful for that. Do you have people who love you in your life? Are you seeing the gratitude? Are you seeing the things you should be focusing on? And when you put the focus on the positive, guess what that does? Oh, I feel so much better. What you think about, what you dwell on, is what you are. So if you want to think about being all anxious and scared and the uncertainty and the fear and all that, if you want to think on all that, okay, that is your choice. I encourage you to go the opposite direction. Think about all the blessings you have in your life and all the good things that are happening in your life and the things you are grateful for. Now more than ever, we need to grasp onto those things. Finally, under foster wellness, avoid negative outlets. Oh, listen to this, guys. It may be tempting to mask your pain with alcohol, drugs, or other substances, but that's putting a bandage on a very deep wound. Focus instead on giving your body resources to help manage your stress rather than seeking to eliminate the feeling of stress altogether. I will add to that list alcohol, drugs, and what I call crappy garbage. You're just medicating your feelings right now. It's not a food thing. It's a covering up pain thing. And it's extremely negative to your body. All right, next one. Find purpose. I've talked about this a little bit lately, but the first way of building your resiliency through finding purpose is to help other people. Whether you volunteer at a local homeless shelter or simply support a friend in their time of need, you can garner a sense of purpose, foster self-worth, connect with other people, and tangibly help others, all of which can empower you to grow in resilience. I got to tell you, doing this Jimmy Rants, I feel is my way of contributing to helping other people. I hope you feel that. I hope you know that that is my intentionality of coming on every single day to offer words of hope and encouragement and uplifting and calm. That's literally the reason I'm here, you guys. And I wouldn't have it any other way. My heart has always been to help other people, but now more than ever, even more so. Be proactive. It's helpful to acknowledge and accept your emotions during hard times, but it's also important to help you foster self-discovery by asking yourself this question: what can I do about a problem in my life? If the problem seems too big to tackle, then break it down into manageable pieces. So think about the coronavirus, COVID-19, everything. If you just look at it in totality, it seems overwhelming. So take it in chunks. Okay, I've got a parent who's in the age bracket where they're highly susceptible to this. So I'm going to call and check in on them often, make sure they're staying home. If they need anything, I make sure I can get things delivered to them. I just make sure they're okay. So in your mind, you deal with that aspect of it. Then maybe another part of this as well, we're not working right now, or the hours has been reduced. What do I do? Okay, all right, well, we have these things on our property we could sell to try to make money. And so you start kind of thinking. You see how when you take things individually, being proactive about it, breaking them down into manageable pieces, it doesn't get so overwhelming, right? So you're able to handle it better. If you got laid off at work, you may not be able to convince your boss it was a mistake to let you go, but you can spend an hour a day developing your strengths and working on your resume. I did a whole Jimmy rants the other day about maybe this is the time you start thinking about going to work for yourself. And maybe working from home or being at home has caused you to go, wow, I think I want to give this a go for the first time. So this is your time. Think that through. Be proactive. Taking initiative will remind you that you can muster motivation and purpose even during the most stressful periods of your life, increasing the likelihood that you will rise up again when painful times hit again. That's what I was talking about at the very beginning. I've been through stuff in my life that's made me so super resilient that I don't get overly worried about really anything anymore. And that's a good skill to have. Next up, move towards your goals. So remember, we're talking about finding your purpose. So move towards your goals. Develop some realistic goals and then do something regularly, even if it seems like a small accomplishment, that enables you to move towards the things you want to accomplish. So instead of focusing on tasks that are unachievable, ask yourself this question. What's one thing I know I can accomplish today that helps me move in the direction I want to go? So if you're struggling with the loss of a loved one and you want to move forward, you could join a grief support group in your area. Maybe you could, if you wanted to start going into business for yourself, you could start researching other people in that same line of work and what they're doing. And then the next day, see those people that are the top in the field and reach out to them and see if they would talk to you. You know how many people write to me about podcasting? Like literally over the years, I've gotten hundreds of people. Well, you do a podcast. Tell me how you did that. And it's so amazing because some people, they're just kind of doing a feeler. They're just kind of throwing it out there and they're not really serious. I can always tell the serious ones from like a mile away. They're like, okay, I got the microphone, I got my headphones, I got everything ready, and I've got like 10 episodes ready to go, and I just need to know, how do you get it out there? How do you market it? Okay, this person knows what they're doing, and they have a plan. They are moving towards reaching their goals, and I always know who's going to be successful when they come to me that way. Finally, under this category of finding your purpose, look for opportunities for self-discovery. People often find that they have grown in some respect as a result of the struggle. I want you to think about that even now. In the midst of this crisis situation where you might be struggling emotionally, mentally, you are going to be stronger. You're going to grow. I know that's so hard to think about right this moment because you feel so broken, right? That's you. You feel broken right now. You feel so out of control. And so if you're out of control in your mind and you feel broken, let this encourage you. You're going to grow from this because what breaks comes back stronger. For example, after a tragedy or hardship, people have reported better relationships, a greater sense of strength about themselves, even while they're still feeling vulnerable. Strength and vulnerability. Does that not sound like an oxymoron? Like people see vulnerable as weak. If you're vulnerable, you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. You really are. And better relationships, you know who is important in your life when you go through tough times. I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, who the best people in my life are. They're the ones that have stayed in touch with me, have encouraged me, talked to me, and I have no doubt about it, since the sabbatical and since this COVID-19 kind of making us all stay within our own homes, the people that have reached out to me, I'm like, yep, there's another one I just knew was my people. Are you finding your people in the midst of this? Are you realizing who matters most? And I hope you've got a lot of those kind of people. Sadly, for most of us, we're talking about less than 10 people. For me, it's a little more than that because of what I do for a living. I've got a lot of you guys write to me pretty often. So thank you for that, encouraging me. All of this increases your sense of self-worth, and it heightens your appreciation for life. It does. All right. Embracing healthy thoughts is the next part of resilience. Keep things in perspective. How you think can play a significant part in how you feel and how resilient you are when faced with obstacles. Try to identify any areas of irrational thinking, such as a tendency to think everything's a catastrophe right now, or assume that the world is out to get you, and instead try to adopt a more balanced and realistic thinking pattern. This is the thing that got me. Everybody that already had some propensity for feeling negative and pessimistic about things, this has only made it worse. Oh my God, the world is coming to an end. Oh, we're never going to come back from there. This is how, have you read the news lately? Oh my God. We all have those people in our lives. And those are the people I need to go, I need a break from you. I'm going to need therapy to get over you. So you know who those people are. And if you don't know who those people are, you might be that person. I'm just saying. For instance, if you feel overwhelmed by a challenge, remind yourself what happened to you is not an indicator of how your future will go and that you're not helpless. You may not be able to change a highly stressful event like right now, but you can change how you interpret it and respond to it. So if you've been pessimistic and negative all through this process with this coronavirus crisis, can you shift gears? Because the rest of us are tired of listening to you, if we're being honest. And it's not productive. Focusing on the negative, we're all dealing with the same stressor. So it's not like you're providing any information that we don't already know. But what you could do to help us out, and we will help back, is to stay positive and encouraging and uplifting. And when we come out the other side of this, we're going to be like, oh, thank God. I'm so glad we were so kind and gentle with each other in the midst of that, because that was a really tough thing. You feel me? Next, accept change. Accept that change is a part of life. Certain goals or ideals may no longer be attainable as a result of adverse situations in your life. Accepting the circumstances that cannot be changed can help you focus on the circumstances that you can change. This is a big one for me, you guys. I have a friend in my life who every time something happens, this person will tell me, I'm sorry, thinking that that's the knee-jerk reaction that I would want to hear. And so I always ask back, did you have control over the situation? No. If you did not have control over it, then what are you sorry for? Oh, well, I just didn't want you to feel bad. Okay, great. But if you couldn't control it, there's literally nothing to apologize about. But if you could control it, yes, please apologize. That's the right thing to do. So what are those things right now that you just have literally no control over? Well, right now you're being told to stay in your homes. You can't control that. What if Aunt Sally wants you to come over? Are you going to say, I'm sorry? You shouldn't, because you can't control it. You see what I'm talking about? So accept the changes that are happening. Maintain a hopeful outlook. It's hard to be positive when life isn't going your way. An optimistic outlook empowers you to expect that good things are going to happen to you. Try to visualize exactly what you want rather than worrying about what you're fearing. Along the way, note any subtle ways in which you start to feel better as you deal with a difficult situation. I'm not all into kind of some of the psychobabble that's out there when it comes to the power of positive thinking, but it really does help. As someone who generally tries to be positive and happy in my own work, even in the midst of kind of things still going on in my life, it helps you guys. So if you're not a generally positive person, can you get with the program and try to be? It's not hard to be nice to people. It's not hard to be kind to people, compassionate to people. I think the online world makes it a little more difficult. I get all kind of comments on my YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, don't be one of those that writes some pretty ugly comments to me, because you just get them deleted and you know who you are. Be positive, be uplifting, be encouraging. Can you imagine if everybody did that? We would never have any strife at all. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there's people who love the strife. They love the argument. They love the debate. If somebody that they don't like says something is up, no, it's down. And it just becomes this like viciousness. And quite frankly, 2020 was already going to be a sucky year because it's a presidential election year. But dang, like, can you imagine when this is all over, the vitriol that's going to come out of people because they have such a pessimistic view of the world? It's just going to be uglier than it's ever been in our lifetime. And I hate that. But we can change that. You individually have that power to change that. And finally, learn from your past. So again, this is all under the category of embracing healthy thoughts. By looking back at who and what was helpful in previous times of distress, you may discover how you can respond effectively to new difficult situations. Remind yourself of where you've been able to find strength, and then ask yourself what you learned from those experiences. Every experience you've had in your life that has put you through adversity has taught you a lesson. Now, whether you heeded that lesson and learned from it and grew from it, that's up to you. But every single thing you've gone through has taught you a lesson. And then finally, seeking help. Getting help when you need it is crucial in building that resilience. For many people, using their own resources and the kinds of strategies that we just listed above may be enough for building resilience, but at other times, an individual might get stuck or have difficulty making progress on the road to resilience. A licensed mental health professional, such as a psychologist, can assist people in developing an appropriate strategy for moving forward. Get professional help if you feel like you're unable to function as well as you would like, or even perform the most basic of activities of daily living as a direct result of trauma or stress that's happened in your life. Keep in mind, different people tend to be comfortable with different types of interactions. So to get the most out of your therapeutic relationship, you should feel at ease with a mental health professional or in a support group. So right before my sabbatical last year, I hired a life coach. And Rachel Freeman is her name. I've talked about her here on Instagram. I posted about her and how she helped me even before the sabbatical. About 4 weeks before the sabbatical in August last year, I had my first session with her, and then of course all through the sabbatical, and in fact today I have a session with her at 2:00. I'm going to ask her if I can donate the rest of my paid sessions, because I paid her in advance. I'm going to ask her a favor. Can I donate however many sessions I have left? Let's just say it's 5. And I want to give you guys the opportunity to experience a 1-hour session. She is a trained licensed therapist and is outstanding, you guys. I want to do that because I sense that there are people who need this a lot more than I do right now. And I want to see if she's open to it, number one. And if she is, I will put out the call on Instagram and let you guys know, hey, I have 5, however many it is, scholarships for a 1-hour session with a mental health therapist who can help you. Because I just feel like right now more than ever, we need people to be sane in their head. And there's no shame in this. If you're freaked out right now, you're human. Let's just be clear about that. This is not overwhelming. It is overwhelming, but it's not the end of the world. But people are feeling the effects of that because they're so anxious about the uncertainty, and the fears are overwhelming. So I will report back if she does say yes that I could donate the rest of my sessions. I'll do my session with her today, but we'll see what she says about the rest. So let me finish the article. The important thing is to remember you're not alone in this journey. While you may not be able to control all of your circumstances, you can grow by focusing on the aspects of life's challenges you can manage with the support of loved ones and trusted professionals. So, mental resilience, you guys, it is so critical. And I'm the first to tell you, it's not a perfect thing. Like, once you become mentally resilient does not mean that doesn't matter what happens in your life, you don't get upset or overwhelmed or have emotions from time to time. I do. But I think bouncing back from that quicker than I used to is the key. And for you, have your moment, feel it, go through it, but then come out the other side and go, okay, now what? And you move forward. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. I'm running out of time, about 10 minutes for comments. So thank you guys. I'm going to go to Instagram Live first, and if we have time, we'll go to Facebook Live. Thank you guys there for still watching. Welcome in, welcome in. As always, go to jimmyrants.com, and you can see all the past episodes, and go to YouTube. Type in the keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Linda says, good morning. I love all your rants. Thank you. I love doing these rants. It's a lot of fun to come on here and interact with people. And especially right now, people need someone that's familiar. And so you've got familiarity here. Amy says, new fears are happening for me literally every day. You're not alone. I think if you're being fearful as a direct result of reading the news, maybe you back away from the news right now. You're not going to miss anything important. The main thing right now is stay in your home, wash your hands, minimize contact with other people. That's the message. So if you do all those things, then there's no sense to bombard yourself with all the news. So if that's the thing that is instigating you having a new fear every single day, then I encourage you, let that go. Mary Posa says, I pray a lot. Yeah, a lot of people are praying right now because it's just so overwhelming for a lot of people. Lalmirez says, good morning from Maryland. I was just laid off from my job. Also, homeschooling my kids is so stressful. So I gave myself time to grieve. And now I started to meditate and work out just to get moving. See, that's the thing. Don't push down that you're having emotion about this. That's the last thing you want to do. You obviously are going to have emotion about this. You would not be human if you weren't. But you felt the feeling, you had the emotion, and then you became smart about this and you're moving on. That's resiliency. So good job. Law Mirez also says, I need a hug. Girl, I am the king of huggers. Like, I will hug hundreds of people at a keto conference, and I have nobody around me right now. So I feel ya. Like, even like more than, I mean, a hug would be awesome, but even like eye contact, smile, touch of any kind, it's just, yeah, you don't realize how much you miss it until you miss it. Pink Puggy Pundit says, I go on walks, I listen to music, stay creative with my art, and I don't stress out. Good job. Good job, good job. Keto Junkie Natalie says, made me and my kids a set schedule, and it's helping. Yeah, that could help a lot. Like where you need structure where there's been structure before, reintroduce structure, and that can help calm your brain. Debbie says the comeback is always stronger than the setback. Ooh, I like that turn of phrase. The comeback is better than the setback. That's true. Cariana says, play the tape forward, as they say. Yes, 3 steps ahead. That's literally been my motto for a little while, where I always tell people, think the 3 steps ahead. If it's a situation you're dealing with now, what's it going to look like 1 year from now? Things tend to look a lot better in the future than they do in the here and now. Jesse says people are losing their jobs. Some are quitting for safety reasons. Understandable. Stores are struggling with short help. I'm considering applying to my local store, even if it puts me at potential risk, but maybe I need to get out and start helping. Jess, that's certainly something that a lot of people are contemplating just like you. So you do what you think is best for you. Mary says that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Are you trying to do what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? See, I have to sing on Jimmy Rants every once in a while. Kelly Clarkson song. Mama Orange, true, this week is the 14th anniversary of my mom's death, and I always get a little sad around this time anyway. See, that's the thing. We have these things we bring from our past into the present, and you don't just, quote, get over them. So sorry that this is bringing up those emotions. Beth says, I didn't think I was that stressed, but I get deep guttural belches when I'm stressed. You'd think I had just downed a case of Topo Chico. Yeah. Let's see. Debbie says, I ate Peeps because the company is stopping production. That's a good excuse, right? What do you think the keto guy's going to tell you to that? Kat says, mental health, willpower, overall stress levels, sleep always depended on regular exercise in my case. So exercise is my number one priority, and new studies are proving that. Yeah, when you get exercise, when you get sunlight in your eyes during the day, when you do all of the things that you already know to do, they haven't changed just because this coronavirus thing is out here. They still apply, so do all those things and they'll help you. Beth says, I love and look forward to your voice of reason. Thank you. Thank you. I will keep it up because literally, I feel like I've been called to do this, honestly. All right, let's go over to Facebook and see what our friends over there have to say. And as always, I see you there, Living La Vida Low Carb Facebook page, but I can't see any comments that you're making. So please leave comments. I do read them when we're done with the show. Hello, Facebook Live. Let's see what you guys have to say about this subject. At least the young people have never heard it. What are you referring to, Rhonda? Help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Mitzi says, money will come and go. It's replaceable. There's more at stake here than just money. You can't replace your life or the lives of those most vulnerable. That's one reason why we're all staying in our homes, or at least the prudent ones are doing that. Norma says, your voice is the only voice I've heard since March the 3rd. That's why I show up every day like I do. I'm tired of listening to myself. I'm tired of listening to myself and even disagreeing with myself. Are you having conversations with yourself often, Norma? Okay, I'm just going to leave that right there. Hey, Steve, what's going on, buddy? All right, so what we're talking about here, you guys, it matters. Be resilient. Be resilient because it's going to help you so much. And I know we're all in that mode of uncertainty and the flux of this. And it makes it hard for you to feel like you can be resilient, but you have to do it. You have to do it. And it comes with experience. So this is a huge opportunity to flex that muscle of resiliency. And maybe the next time something in your life happens, which it will, death of a loved one, loss of a job, end of a relationship, something's going to happen. You'll be able to handle it better. And as someone who's been through some stuff and has had to be resilient, it's helped me with this situation, which is why I love coming on Jimmy Rants every day, offering a calm, gentle voice of reassurance and encouragement and positivity for you. Tammy says, I am in isolation in my room for 7 days so far. My husband is leaving food at the door. Unfortunately, it's not keto. Well, right now, I think we just kind of let go of some of those things that we think are important for now. Try to the best you can, do the best you can when it comes to like nutrition, for example, but get through this time right now is the main thing. So that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. As always, go over to jimmyrants.com. You can see all the past episodes, but go follow me. I'm over on Instagram Live. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. You can also watch the replay of these over on YouTube. We try to get them up within just an hour or two after they air over at YouTube. So type in a keyword Jimmy Rants and you will find the show. Guys, I'll be back again a little bit later today at 5 p.m. Eastern with an Ask Me Anything. So bring your keto, fasting, cholesterol, whatever questions you want to ask Jimmy Moore. I'll be here to answer those. So until next time, we'll see you then.